And there's some bad news. The United States government is going to shut down once again, and millions of Americans are going to be impacted as a result. There's some good news here and there's some bad news. I'm going to break down what the good news is, what the bad news is, and why so many people are watching this. Why so many people are wondering what is going to happen. We are right now, as of this morning, we are hearing talks are intensifying. Look at this. It says talks intensify to avert government shutdown as White House and Senate leaders eye a last-ditch deal. Now, what's in this deal? Well, let's watch this clip because, again, what's happening right now is key. This is extremely important because we need the government to stay open. If we see another partial government shutdown, millions of people are going to be impacted. We are going to feel the effects. But listen to this right here.
In Washington, Senate Democrats are threatening to block funding for the Department of Homeland Security without reforming ICE.
Masks off, body cameras on, be able to identify who's an agent, who isn't, and what agency are they from, and have some predictable method for accountability.
Without those changes, Democrats say they won't provide the votes needed.
Democrats have been very clear that if ICE doesn't change, if the money that's going to the Department of Homeland Security, if we do not see some type of reform, so people aren't being pulled from their houses, people are not being thrown to the ground on the streets, people aren't being shot that are not a threat, they say we will not provide additional funding. But listen to this right here because the talks, again, are intensifying. They are getting closer, but there's a 100% chance we see a government shutdown come Saturday morning. The good news is, the reason it's a 100% chance is because the House of Representatives is currently on a week-long recess. They will.
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in the gospel broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is a quick lesson through the Spirit. The Lord's would be edified. It says, confirm U.S. government shutdown was shut down 100%. I kind of went into this early in the week with this government shutdown. As you know, that the government was shut down for, I think, 43 days last time. And the last shutdown was back in 2018 for 37 days, which is the second longest shutdown in history. Now, you know, they are talking about the Democrats, how if ICE isn't taken off the streets of Minnesota to some degree and defunding them and not, you know, and not funded, then they can come up with some type of bill to keep the government open. But as long as they got ICE terrorizing people, then, you know, Democrats, they want to avert the bill, so to speak. They don't want to deal with it. And you got people in the comment section that's complaining about it because, you know, I'm reading the comment that says, why is that when the government shuts down? Because of that failure of the people are still required to pay taxes when the government shut down. And you know what? That's a good question. And the reality of it is because you're a slave. Okay. Yeah, the government is shut down, but you still got to pay taxes. Why? Because that money goes to lobbyists, it goes to Israel, Ukraine, and it goes to anybody that's basically not an American citizen. That's where your money goes to fund their, you know, their societies and their personal lifestyles. But you, on the other hand, you got to pay taxes and file your taxes, or, you know, technically you're going to be penalized by the Internal Revenue Service, which is a wicked corporation in itself. But it says here, simple, don't pay your taxes, even if a man has nothing to pay them with. Poor man, I can't pay. Government says I'll take your kids, your house, your livestock, your freedom. Hell, the government yells with the laugh and feels the coming man like thunder. It says, I have you the coming man working in the mines unto death. It says, here's what old Rome did to people who could not pay their taxes. If a Roman citizen didn't pay their taxes, and this is true, you can look it up, at whatever amount the tax farmer was set, the entire family could be sold into slavery. Even when the tax farmer system, the Roman government wasn't raising enough money, elected officials were corrupted, and this is Rome all over again. So essentially the same practices go. As the scripture said, there's nothing new under the sun. So that's a pretty accurate statement. But nonetheless, this place, it needs to shut down for good. All right, because there's no benefactor with having a rooted class monarchy or monarch over the people that's getting ready to oppress us. All right, but right now they experiment with all this bipartisan bullshit and how they want to come up with this spending bill, that spending bill, and how they want to fund this new world order because you got what they call the 2028 Olympics out there in Cali, where the fires in the Palisades took place. They're setting up provisions for that. So therefore, if you're not part of the new world order, which in my opinion, I believe that you're gonna have to have the RFID chip by then. All right, because that chip is coming real soon. So part of these shutdowns is to put the squeeze on people to deplete funding like Social Security, healthcare. Healthcare is already on the line, as premiums are pretty much, they're not affordable. Having procedures done and them not covering your procedure, that leaves the person with the bill, but yet you pay taxes. So yeah, Babylon is just falling, man, and they can try to disguise it under all these particular programs, and we got 15-minute, 20-minute smart cities, but it's all gonna fail, man. Okay, because we're in a time now of Esau's demise. You see? So let's get a quick precept real quick. Go to book Jeremiah 51, and I'm gonna start at verse 7, and it reads, it says, Babylon have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. Yeah, okay, because the Most High has used this place for wickedness to police the world and to corrupt the world. So therefore fulfill prophecy, because if America wasn't this wicked, then Yahweh Shai wouldn't have to come back to redeem his elect. But this place is infertly wicked that made all the earth drunk, and the nations have drunken of our wine. Therefore the nations are mad. So they're pissed off, man. Okay, this is why you have the Saudis. That's why you have BRICS Alliance. This is why you have OPEC nations. This is why you have different countries dumping their dollar, because they're realizing that this is nothing more but a fraudulent based system, and they're pretty much a washing their hands of America because they just tired of the shit. Okay, they're tired of being in servitude to America, and at the same time paying tribute to this place. So they're like, what, we can afford our own societies, we don't need your society. This is why other nations like Russia, they invest in gold. This is why they have investments into Iran. Used to be Venezuela's oil market. They had investments in these things because it brought back a good return. And everybody was able to sustain themselves. But here, just like in Greenland, they make a mockery of America because they like, this is a welfare state. And they're absolutely right about that. America is full of welfare recipients, man. I mean, just look at the people. You got homeless people here. How the hell you got all this land in America, but yet you got damn near 1 million people homeless, man? Here you are building up apartments and developments all over the place, and yet you make them unaffordable. And then you make it illegal to be homeless, but you're not providing the necessarily lifestyle and the adequate pay so people can pay their bills, man. All right, everybody is a dime short. Everybody's living paycheck to paycheck. Nobody has the money for expenses in case an emergency transpire. Like if somebody transmission went out today, they ain't got fucking $5,000 to go get the damn transmission fixed, man. It means they'll be stranded. Public transportation, Lord forbid you have, Lord forbid you have it or you don't have it, and then now you out of a job. Then comes the eviction, then comes credit card debt. It's a fucked up vicious cycle, man, and this is why everybody's on edge, man. Like people are going to work for dear life, even though they hate their jobs. They're going to work because that's the only how they can make ends meet, bread and butter. But it says Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her and take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. So all these government shutdowns is adding to the deficit, because each day the government is shut down, it costs them more money. It adds to the deficit, man. Okay, let me look this up real quick. How much money did the last government shutdown cost? Okay. I don't know if they even got the budget for this. This is old. No. says shutdown is costing U.S. economy $7 billion per month. Yeah, numbers shut down roughly like a month and about a week, about a month and a week and a half. So that added about $7 billion to the deficit, but probably more than that. It says the 35-day partial government shutdown from December 2018 to January 2019. I remember that. Cost the U.S. economy an estimated $11 billion, according to the Congressional Budget Office. It says this includes $3 billion in lost economic growth that was never recovered, largely driven from reduced spending from furloughed workers and delayed federal contracts. And remember, Trump said last time that he might not even pay the workers. And I'm sure he back paid them by now because, you know, he's going to have a problem on his hand. But regardless of it, man, you're dealing with the devil here, all right? And the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is not with this place. GDP loss, which goes into gross domestic product. The shutdown reduced the GDP growth by $3 billion in Q4 2018 and $8 billion in Q1 in 2019. Delayed spending, over $18 billion in federal discretionary spending was delayed, and a loss of productivity. The shutdown affected roughly 800,000, which I think the federal government employs the most people in the country. Okay, you got more people that work for the federal government than manufacturing, you know, than private sectors as well. You know, that's why, like in your states, in your cities, like the state and the city government, they're the biggest employers of your city. Like in Kansas City, the city is the biggest employer for Kansas Cityans, man, because I mean, technically that's how it's set up. I think same thing in Chicago Public Works. But it says it was 800,000 federal employees who were either furloughed or worked without pay. It's crazy. And direct costs beyond the direct $11 billion hit, the shutdown caused significant, hard to quantify disruptions to business, travel, and government services. Okay. It says 2013 and 2019 wasted nearly $4 billion in taxpayers' dollars alone. And that ain't shit. $20 billion just for funding transgender research on fucking animals. Crazy work, bro. But this is the society we're dealing with. This is a wicked and an unjust society, man. You know? But it says here, Babylon has suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for our pain. If so, she may be healed. And this place is not going to be healed. No matter how many smart cities you put up, no matter if you collapse the dollar and you institute a digital currency, it's still not going to be healed because essentially it's the same goddamn thing, man. It says we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country, for our judgment reaching into the heaven and is lifted up even into the skies, man. All right. So it's basically a story of the rich robbing the poor. Okay. The rich man's wealth. Proverbs 10 and 15. The rich man's wealth is a strong city. Yep. Babylon is a strong city. But the destruction of the poor is their poverty. Yeah. Like I mentioned, the homelessness. Proverbs 22 and 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. This is why the elites have 99% of the wealth. Verses 16. It says, he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. Because at the end of the day, even amid these shutdowns, the elites are getting rich while the people are getting poor. Okay, and you may have more layoffs that come from this government shutdown. All right, so let's listen to a little bit more.
Will not be back until Monday. So, even if it passes a bill, the House is not coming back until Monday, meaning we will at least be going through a 2-day shutdown. Not too bad, but again, at least it's something. Okay.
And this motherfucker need to be shut down till the missiles come. I pray this shit stay shut down, but we know that's not going to be the case because, of course, they come up with some type of funding bill. And, you know, like I said, Esau, you know, he still have time on the board. A little bit time. Not too much, but regardless of it, I just wish this shit just go away, man. All right? Just tired of suffering this place. It's getting old.
We know what's going to happen. Listen to this, though, right here.
I have some news just coming in this morning. I'm told by sources that talks between the White House and Senate Democrats are intensifying this morning in order to avoid a partial government shutdown tomorrow. There is no firm deal just yet. We know that Senate Democrats have been trying to take a stand around DHS funding following the shooting and killing of Renee Good and Alex Preddy down in Minneapolis. So as of now, I'm told that these talks center around separating money from DHS from a larger package to keep the government funded. This would allow the military and critical programs for the CDC, for educational programs like Head Start to be funded through September. It would also temporarily extend funding for DHS, giving Democrats in the White House more time to discuss any possible policy change.
And the thing of it is, they're printing more money to fund this shutdown. How the hell you gonna print your own money and pay your bills with it? Like, how does that even work? So you adding more to the deficit. Okay, long story short, he's adding more to the deficit. And that's just what it boils down to, man. So all these bailouts and these spending packages, you're using the money that you're in debt to pay your bills off, and that's not going to work because the countries are dumping the dollar, man. They're dumping your treasury. So that's just going to prove to be more expensive for you in the later down the road. You know, they call it let's kick the can down the road, you know.
We want to be clear, this is not a firm deal. Both sides do need to agree. The White House is not commenting this morning, but it does come after Senate Democrats laid out their list of demands, including ending roving patrols, ensuring federal agents are held to the same use of force policies that apply to state and local law enforcement, preventing agents from wearing masks, and requiring body cameras.
Running your business on the go just got easier with the QuickBooks mobile app. Be prepared for tax time.
That's what they're asking for, okay? Democrats are asking for ending roving patrols. They hate that. Okay? Ensuring federal agents are held to the same use of force policies as state and local law enforcement. We can't be just throwing people to the ground. Just because you are a federal agent, you're a ICE enforcement officer, whatever, you cannot be throwing people to the ground, and yet you are not being held accountable for that. They also say they want to prevent agents from wearing masks, so we have no clue who they are, and also require body cameras. This is what they're demanding. This isn't an ask, it's a demand. And right now, Democrats are saying that this is what we want. This is pretty much our list. Give us everything, or else you do not get the votes, and we will shut the government down. That's what they're telling us. I want to show you something else.
And Trump don't give a shit because they already funded. ICE already got money to operate, you know?
Says today, the Senate will vote today on whether to take up a government spending package as Democrats press the White House for a deal to consider funding for the Department of Homeland Security separately from other departments. Friday is the deadline to avert a government shutdown. What we know is that this bill, it's a partial government shutdown. We've already extended funding for 6 appropriations bills earlier this year. Okay, that's already been done, or actually it was back in the fall. But there's another 6 that have to be fully funded by January 30th, which is Friday. Okay, that's tomorrow. End of day tomorrow. They have to fund this bill. Here's what they're discussing. That why don't we pass a bill that's going to partially fund or just extend the funding for ICE and Department of Homeland Security? We'll extend it potentially like a week or maybe 2 weeks, just to give us enough time to go back in and change the policies.
Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors. This shit is through, bro. Let it die. Anyway, Sirach 4:1, my son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. And that's what Esau is doing. Like all them government workers, man, he wasn't paying them their money. And all you furloughed, but yet these ICE motherfuckers get all the money and the bash people upside the head. But yet you got people that's actually working a so-called legitimate job and they can't get no money. They can't get their paychecks. But yet the Congress, they still eat. It says, make not a hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. This bitch gonna have an accident. She stay on the fucking phone. Like, get your ass off the phone. These stupid hoes, man. It says, make not a hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress, and add not more trouble to a heart that is vexed. and defer not to give to him that is in need. Yeah, man. And that's what Esau do. You make people wait 2 weeks for a goddamn paycheck. Sometimes 3 weeks, depending on if you're working for a state agency. Sometimes you might not get a paycheck for about a month. You know? It says, reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away thy face from a poor man, and turn not away thy eyes from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse thee. Yeah, and everybody is cursing this devil, man, even his own people. That's what you're reading in the comment boards, man. They like, how the hell are he going? They're like, how the hell can these people not work and get paid? But yeah, we work, you know, and doing what we have to do to make ends meet. I can't get a paycheck, but I still got to come to work. People going to start to say, hell, they're going to walk off the job. We saw it last shutdown. But it says here, for if he cursed thee in the bitterness of his soul, his prayer should be heard of him that made him. So you devils are cooked at the end of the day. But anyway, I'm going to end it. Giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honor to the elders, the apostles, the great millstone. Peace and blessings and salutations to the whole elect. Lord's will, you will edify. To the next session. Shalom.